What's up, guys? This is Ben Askren. I'm here sitting down talking disc golf with Discraft team captain Paul Ulibarri. Paul, what's up?
Chilling. Glad to be here.
We had a good day so far. Played a little disc golf, ate some Mexican food. Doesn't get much better than that.
No, it was literally a perfect welcome to Wisconsin life here.
There we go.
And Funky Farms, man. That was fun.
Absolutely, and the weather even graced us. We're in November and it's like beautiful and sunny out. Okay, how did you first get started disc golfing?
A buddy in high school, Tyler Cox, Tim Cox was his dad, and they helped put in like a disc golf course there in Sholo, Arizona, kind of in the mountains of Arizona. And good friend growing up through middle school, and he was playing all the time, and he would try to get me to go out and play, and I was kind of hesitant at first, and then finally went out one day with him and played in a league, and then just got super addicted right away. And then, I mean, I've probably played every week since.
Really?
Yeah.
Every week, at least.
And that was 2005. So
wow.
At least thrown some sort of shot since then. So yeah, it was like kind of love at first throw.
Damn. Okay. So what you say, like your friend was trying to get you for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious. What made you hesitant, or why wouldn't you go out with him?
Well, I thought it was kind of dorky. Honestly, I did. I was playing a lot of traditional golf. I was playing a lot of basketball at the time, and I was skateboarding as well. And when he said he called it frisbee golfing, right? Mm-hmm. I couldn't even picture what it would be like. Okay. And so I didn't know if it was like playing catch, and then he started explaining it, and I was just like, no, not my thing, man. I'm good. And that's the thing about disc golf is, once you get to actually see it visually and try it, it becomes way more appealing than just like your first thought of what that might be, because, you know, the regular person is just thinking about a catch frisbee or playing frisbee with a dog or something that they've seen before. But actually getting out on a course and playing that dynamic of watching, you know, obviously they're heavier, they go farther, they do different shot shapes. Seeing somebody else do that, I remember my first throw ever, I watched this guy, he showed me how to throw, and he was like 70 years old. And he throws it pretty good, and I'm like, you know, I was like, I think I was 15 years old. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna just rip this so much further than that guy. Straight up in the air, straight right, and I'm super competitive, so right away I was hooked. Yeah,
so I'm curious, it's kind of funny, you said your first round ever was actually in a league, right? Mm-hmm. Like you played the league doubles or something. I mean, did that add like a lot of pressure? Because I feel like, I know when I started, I sucked. I don't think I've ever taken anyone out, and the first time they're like, wow, you're really good at this. Yeah. You're all like, don't understand the power you need to, it feels like the frisbee, you should be able to just like do this and then it goes, and they can't do it. So, you know, I know if I would have been, because I'm also competitive, if I would have been, you know, some type of league game, and I freaking sucked that bad, I might have never came back because I would have hated it. So I'm very curious, like, was it just like, oh, I'm going to come back next week and get these guys? Or like, what was it about that hooked you?
Yeah, I think it was actually the league competitiveness part of it. One of the reasons was it's a handicap league. And so then I had a number. I think it was like, I shot like 20 something over par. And obviously it was my first time, and I thought to myself, my buddy ended up actually getting second that day, and he won like $20. Okay. And so I was like, dang, you can actually make money doing this, you know? I'm like, I think I could beat my score. And so, yeah, I came back the next week, and then I actually shaved like 8 shots off, and I ended up making money. Plus that competitiveness really drove me. I don't like being bad at stuff. Yeah. And so naturally, like, being that bad at disc golf, I was like, no, this can't happen. Like, I gotta at least beat my friend. Yeah, you know, that's who was funny. Pretty good.
So, you've probably seen a lot of other people have their first rounds ever. I know I have. What do you think it is about the first time where they almost all suck? And I mean, yourself included, myself included. What do you think it is about that first time? You just don't understand how to do it, or what's the problem for people?
I think there's two things, right? I think one of the things is we've thrown things our whole life since we were little kids, whether it's rocks or footballs or baseballs or whatever. And one thing with disc golf is you need a lot of spin. Mm-hmm. And so even with like a sidearm, right, which is throwing it like you would a traditional baseball or football or something, you're doing that, but you're not putting spin on the disc, because with baseball or football, your fingers aren't really engaged as much as you would think. And so then the disc wobbles, you're not putting enough spin on it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even great athletes come into the game and they're like, okay, I'm going to be able to just throw this Frisbee as far as I can, or disc. And then they don't match the rotations on the disc, and then they suck right away, right?
Yeah.
Sure. And the other thing is, with like a beach Frisbee or a traditional, ultimate lid or something of that nature, it takes a slower arm speed to be able to play catch with your friend.
Yeah.
And so when they come out and then they want to throw it like that, it's heavier. And so it just goes nose up, not enough spin again. And
yeah, I've noticed that people who throw a Frisbee and then go to disc, like the first time I get them, because I've got a lot of people that come play disc golf for the first time. And I noticed they almost always put their finger on the rim like this, like you would, because a regular Frisbee, like you said, you don't really need to spin it. It's like so slow. Disc guys, the case that always want to do this, and then they can't ever get the velocity needed to like actually get it to go somewhere.
Yeah.
You see it a lot too, or?
Oh, for sure. Like the grip's different. The wrist angle is one big thing, because in order to get a lid to go far, you need that nose to be up a little bit so that it carries longer. And when you have a disc, if you get the nose up at all, it's going straight up and then left. And so it's not going to have that distance. So nose angle and then rotations on the disc, I think both sidearm and backhand are the one thing that just is lost when you first start.
Nice. Okay, let's talk about you getting into competition. And I found this to be really interesting, but you told me your first real competitions, besides the league, right, ever, was the Amateur Worlds.
Junior Worlds, yeah.
Junior Worlds, yes. So what made you want to go into as a competition that big as opposed to just a local tournament right away? Is it you saw it and advertised in PGA Magazine and you wanted to go for it, or what made you want to do that? It was an
interesting path, honestly. It was all dumb luck. So I get into the league, and right away I end up progressing pretty fast. I end up hitting an ace, and instead of giving the juniors cash money, the league gave me a PDGA membership.
Really?
So I got a membership.
That's funny.
And I didn't even want one, right? I wanted the money. So now I'm a PDGA member, and then the guys that I were playing with, there was 3 people. One of them was Jack Wood, Ken Swafford. I don't remember the other guy's name, but they would go to Am Worlds every year and compete. So they were really into it. And then they saw me, and then all of a sudden I started beating them over after only a few months of playing, and they're like, dude, you really should go to Am Worlds. It's actually in Flagstaff, which was, right up the road from where I was. And so I talked to my parents, and I'm like, hey, this would be really fun. And at the time, still, I thought it was just kind of like a joke kind of thing. Like I loved doing it, but it was like a hobby, just like, some, like playing cornhole was when it first, started. And so I went there, and then my first tournament, was Junior Worlds. And
so 2005?
2005.
Okay.
And one of my first rounds, I actually played with Paul Macbeth, who is now, 5-time world champion. Well, one of, if not the greatest player to ever play. But I was so new to disc golf, I had a fly fishing bag with my discs in there.
Really?
Yeah. I putted with a rock. I only had a few discs, and I ended up making the final 9. And this is a funny story, because I'm done with the whole tournament, I think. And I'm sitting there in a group of kids, and, we're all young and just having fun, and we're talking back and forth. And Macbeth actually was there, and he asked me how I did. And I'm like, oh, I think I got 4th place. And he's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, no, I got 4th place. He's like, well, the final 9's starting right now. And I didn't know what that was. I thought like the tournament was over, and for the top 4, you had to play 9 more holes. So he's like, dude, they're starting right now. So I had to run across.
Was it no one told you?
No, I had no clue. And so I had to run across the parking lot to play 9 more holes that I had no idea about, because it was my first tournament ever, right?
Wow.
So I didn't really even know.
So you were going to miss it. You were going to get some 7s or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's how new I was to the game. And that was I had only been playing probably 5-6 months at the time.
Oh, wow. So then the next year is your breakout. Little, I took 46th in the field in Tulsa. I guess what went into you winning AM Worlds that year, and that was, really big breakout for you in your career.
Yeah, so the previous year, so then I ended up playing the Final 9, and then I know there's a Final 9. So I got to watch. I didn't know that there was even a pro circuit at the time. Like, I didn't even know how. I thought that was like one of the only tournaments that they ran.
Yeah.
Little did I know that there was like a whole PDGA and everything. I learned about ratings and stuff after that. But I got to watch the advanced players in the Final 9 play, and they had the gallery and the whole thing. And I remember thinking, like, no, I'm going to beat those guys next year. So the goal going into the next year was to win, in advance. And so I trained that whole year. I pretty much dropped all my other sports that I was playing.
Wow.
And just played disc golf just to try to win, that tournament.
Dang. And so that kind of goes into something else you told me, which I didn't know about you, is that you actually had a golf scholarship to Arizona State, and you decided to forego that in order to play disc golf, which, we're in 2021 right now, and disc golf, we're going to get into it, it's kind of blowing up a little bit. Mm-hmm. But to your point, in 2005-06, it was like...
Nothing.
It was nothing. It was a very little known thing. Like, you told people disc golf, and they looked at you funny,
Yeah.
So how do you decide to forego a golf scholarship to disc golf? What goes into that decision?
I don't know. I had a different connection with disc golf. I played a lot of sports up until that point. I was addicted to whatever sport I played, and it was seasonal to where I played baseball, basketball. I even got into like billiards or ping pong or anything that I could compete in. I would do it. Skateboarding, and I just fell in love with disc golf. I don't know what it was about it, but I had a different connection to where that's all I wanted to do, and all sports kind of, went to the side. Okay,
so the detour. I can a little bit pinpoint myself what made me love disc golf. So you say, like, I fell in love with it. It's not now looking back, right? Because we're 15-ish years later. Like, can you pinpoint it now? Like, what made you fall in love with it? Like, can you think back, or is it like you still don't know?
No, there was a couple things. I think the one thing was the competition, the way that like with golf, it was slower. It was like a lot of slower. It was a slower process. It was a slower process as far as like getting better, like staring at a ball, for 3 hours straight on a range or a green. That's fun sometimes, but it becomes really grindy after a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. But with disc golf, you're watching the flight the whole time, and I don't know, the practice, I think, is what I kind of fell in love with more than even like the competition. Obviously, I'm competitive, so that was just in there. But the practice was also fun. Yeah. Which, practicing something else that I did wasn't enjoyable. Yeah. So that's so for me, I think it's this sensation of like immediate feedback loop, which you don't get in a lot of things, you know. In certain things you do, but a lot of things you don't. So number one, when you play disc golf, I think like every shot is kind of like a different shot. Like, it's rare you're getting the exact same shot every single time. Even on the same tee, you're going to get wind, right? Also, there's wind coming this way, there's wind coming that way, right? Or something like that. You envision something in your head, and then you let it go. You throw it and you let it go, and then you literally get to see it, right? So you feel what you just threw, and then you see it, and then I'm sure you did this today. I did this today, and then you're like, "F that was stupid." Yeah. And then you freaking go to your bag, grab another disc, and you want to try again. Yeah. And you grab another disc, you try again, and you just like it's like you just get this immediate feedback loop, and it's like it's really addicting because you just get to keep trying and trying and trying, And then sometimes the first you pick a shot out, and you're like, "Whoa, I did not expect that to go well. That was really awesome." So for me, that was like I still to this day like love that part about it. So almost kind of down the same lines of the practice, like that practice is exactly what you're saying, that immediate like, okay, now I can correct it. And then you're just addicted to like getting better. Yeah, absolutely. It's I love that part about it. Okay, so after 2006, you went 2006 and you went pro, and you've obviously been pro ever since. I guess I'm curious. I don't totally know the mechanics of being a pro disc golfer now, or I'm sure the money's better than it was then. Yeah. But in 2007,
when you say, like, okay, I'm going to go be a pro disc golfer, I mean, at least you're younger, right? So you don't got like a family or nothing, but like that's got to be a little bit scary to say, I'm going to go do this, and I don't know if I'm ever going to make a lot of money, but I love it, so I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. No, it was brutal, honestly. It was completely brutal. It was, I didn't save up that much money either. And I just kind of, I've always been the type of person to where I'm like, all right, I'm going to bet on myself and I'm going to just do it. You know, I don't like ask questions and look at like the negatives. I just kind of jump head first into whatever I'm doing. Sometimes that works, and sometimes, of course, you land flat on your face. But so I go out there for the first year and I just get crushed.
Dang.
And I miss cash at a lot of tournaments, you know what I mean? And it was a complete grind. I didn't see a lot of good feedback. It was my rookie year. I think Nico LaCastro was in that class. My one friend who I actually toured with that year ended up winning Rookie of the Year. So
who's that?
His name was Corey Sharp.
Okay, I don't remember him.
And so yeah, it wasn't my best year, but towards the end of the year, I started seeing some good things happen. And then 2008 comes and I go out again. And I mean, there was times where I had like for example, one time I'm driving to the World Championships in Kansas City. I have $10 to my name. That's it, just $10. I run out of gas, like about 30 miles outside of Kansas City where I'm supposed to get to. And I'm like 4 or 5 miles from the nearest town, so I have to walk to the town. I have $10.
Oh my God.
I go into the gas station to try to find like a gas tank to get gas so I can walk it back to my car. And I go and I look at the gas can and it's $9.99. I'm like, all right, so this isn't gonna work. So I look across the street and like there's a Goodwill. So I go into the Goodwill and I manufacture like a funnel and a thing for the gas, which was like ended up being like $3. Got $7 in gas, went and put it in my car, drove into Kansas City, crashed on a buddy's floor, and ended up taking 12th place at the World Championships. Nice. So like I had little spots where it very easily could have ended, and somehow it worked out to where like I got through that like really rough spot, and then like I said, 12th place at the World Championships. So then I had enough money to go to the next few tournaments. And there were several times where that happened to where I was really close to like being like, all right, I'm done with this, type thing.
It never happened. Wow. Okay, cool. So let's now kind of broad overview. You know, that was early days of disc golf. Now we're 15-ish years later.
Yep.
And for me, you know, I got in actually probably a little. My PDGA number is 1,000 before you, roughly.
Really?
Yeah, I got 26,000. 26612.
Okay.
So I've also witnessed, you know, probably not at the level you're witnessing it, but I've got to witness the growth of disc golf. And like for me, this year was a real breakout year, and just the ability for me to, as a disc golf fan, have my phone, pop on an app, watch the final 9 holes of some tournament, right? Like that's a huge thing. So, you know, maybe not one, but like a couple. What are the biggest things you noticed in the last 10 years of the growth of disc golf?
Well, there's several things. So the first thing, which I believe helped, is obviously media, mainstream media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all these different platforms to where you can get that type of information out. I think the things that got me and you addicted is the same thing that's going to get other people addicted. And once they just get out and try it, it's going to happen. We also have the manufacturers that have really invested into certain players, which obviously you put money there, and then the younger generation is going to look at that. It's going to grow everything. So just like you said, you have your phone, you can see what's going on right there. And then with COVID happening and then everything kind of shutting down, it was really a good spot for people to go out and be active and be able to social distance. And with that happening, I think exactly what we said, is a highly addictive sport, and people were able to get out there who would have never tried it, you know, and because of that, I think we saw this boom.
So in my estimation, disc golf is close to mainstream. How many more years till, the best disc golf players in the world are household names to people? Do you think it's 2, 5, 10, never? Like, what's your guess on this?
2. I'm going to say 2 years, just because of the rapid incline that we've had over the last couple years.
Yeah.
I would go through the airport, early in my career, and I would get checked every single time by the security being like, what are these things? And then they'd be like, what are you? I've been told or asked if I was a clown, if I was a professional juggler, where are my dogs, like different things like that. And now I cannot travel somewhere without at least a few people recognizing me as I go onto the plane or in the plane or something. And if that's happening to me now, to where it never happened in those years, 15 years of doing it, within 2 years, I feel like that's got to be a thing. Especially like none of our players really have millions of Instagram followers or millions of YouTube followers. But it's, I feel like the incline is going to that point. Yeah. And then once it hits that point, if there's multiple of us that have those shorter reaches, then that's just going to keep blowing up to where. Yeah,
especially with, for me, the DGPT, they're doing really good numbers too. And, which means they have all this incentive to sink back into it, because with markets, for them, once they grow, right, they have an LTV, a lifetime value of these customers, so they're going to put all this money back in too, which is, and if we look at, say, the UFC or anything else, like stars grow events. Right?
Totally.
A Conor McGregor pay-per-view, and I'm not going to pick anyone but the lower sales, right? They're drastically different. McGregor's $1 million plus, and a low one's 200,000 or something. Sure. So they're going to invest money in building their shows also. So I think, I think maybe I'm optimistic, but I think I like that you're optimistic also. I think it's like 2 to 4 years away till the disc golfers are really mainstream stars. It's been really funny because, now this is something we've both been doing for 15 years, and now it's going to be like, boom, all of a sudden everyone knows about it. It's wild.
Yeah, and I think it has that sort of take on people to where it's so accessible to anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something that like other sports really don't have that, like basketball or something. You can't play that really until you're 70 years old, where disc golf, you can go out there and it's totally accessible. And it's uniquely cheap as well. Like you don't need a lot of money to go play. You don't need even a lot of product to go play. You just need a couple discs and a couple buddies, and I mean, you can have a good time with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, probably 90% of courses. I mean, I don't know about you, but probably here in Wisconsin, I would say 90 to 95% of the courses are still all the way free. I mean, there's no cost to any of them, and I think that I think there's probably going to be. My guess is there will be a market for the really high-level pay-to-play courses moving forward. But I think there's probably always going to be the county parks and the city parks that are for free for everyone. And so to your point, it's uniquely cheap, right? Anyone can play for probably $50. You can really easily get out and play a whole year of disc golf.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, so I guess, I kind of had this question down, and then in our round this morning we were chatting, obviously. How long do you see yourself playing disc golf, and then what do you think about doing after disc golf? Because you mentioned earlier you're already like getting into the coaching, and for me, obviously I coach wrestling, right? And that was something it was a job title, but while I was wrestling, people were coaching, right? I knew going to coaching, but with disc golf, it's kind of a new thing. So like you're pioneering this market. Mm-hmm. So I guess how long do you see yourself playing, and are you going to go to coaching, or are you going to just go somewhere else?
I mean, I'm going to play as long as I can. Obviously, okay. I love that part of it. I love to compete. I think I have 5 good years left in me of competition. Just being realistic with just age brackets with athletes in general. I could be like Tom Brady and go way deep. No,
TB12.
No. I think I got a good 5 years of competition left. And during that duration, I want to grow that brand of being a good coach or teaching. Because like you said, nobody's really doing that in any sport. You need a swing coach in golf. You need a shooting coach in basketball, pitching coach. Like there's a huge market. And not only is there a market for it, but it's helpful. Like these kids, sure. the kids in disc golf need guidance as well. And if I can supply some sort of guidance for, to grow in the sport, I mean, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. I guess one other question, we got to get two left. The Discraft team captain, which I wasn't really aware of until I checked the website. But that's pretty cool because you look at their elite team and they have a lot of really high-level players. How did that come to be, and what is your role in that position?
Yeah, so when I came to Discraft like 3 years ago, I had known Mike and Bob for a long time. My first ever sponsor was Discraft, so I'd kind of been in their family for a good amount of time. Somebody that I learned from, his name was Dan Ginley, and he pretty much set up disc golf in Arizona all over Discraft, or all over Arizona. He set up disc golf. He was one of the first 4 sponsored players by Discraft, and he was the team captain for a long time.
Yeah.
And so his mentorship, like, that's something that I really wanted, and I felt like, I had enough experience in disc golf that I could provide like that kind of leadership role for the team. And when I came over, that's one of the things that we agreed on that I would do.
Oh, nice. Okay, so is it like a mentorship of the young players with, is it like a growing their brand type of thing, or like, the struggles of tournament life and tour life when you run out of gas and you only have $7 to spend on it?
Yeah.
What all do you do in that role?
No, it's all of that stuff. So It's just a leadership role. If somebody needs, to talk to somebody who's having a bad week or something, they have somebody to call, because I have been through it. I have been through the bad times. I also help a lot with team stuff with Bob for whether it's recruiting players or talking to people who are currently on the team. And of course I have the tough role of being, a disciplinary. Like if somebody's not doing something they're supposed to do or get in trouble, like I'm the person that calls them. And I take the role as lead by example for the most part, just kind of work really hard, do everything, professionally in the right way. And that kind of takes care of that captain role, on any team.
Yeah, for sure. It was, I found it to be unique because I was disc golf is very individualistic, and you get kind of people coming from all different types of backgrounds, and so it's funny how you guys all work together. Okay, cool. Is there anything else that you want to talk about disc golf that I didn't cover? Because I feel like we covered from the beginning your growth, obviously the growth of the sport, and then kind of where you see it going. What I miss?
No, I think we covered most stuff, honestly.
Okay, awesome. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed my interview with Paul, and you guys can also catch our round on Discraft site.